So there's this video that Brian F posted on the Twitch clip, I think. I believe this was originally a Twitch clip. It's a full minute or like a Twitch highlight. It came from Brian F stream. You guys should watch Brian F. I think he's an amazing fighting game content creator and an amazing Street Fighter V player, right? I'm going to go ahead and turn off the music. So I just want to get this out here. What happens on the screen is 100% the opponent's fault. 100% the opponent's fault. The person who loses, it is their fault. I'm just going to throw this out here now. And I see a lot of discourse around this, mainly on like more casual-minded platforms, right? This got posted to Instagram, and it got posted to Facebook, and it got posted to Twitter. On Twitter, everyone was just like, serves him right. Learn how to counter zoning, get cooked. LMAO outplayed, outskilled. It's simply a skill issue, like memes, joking around, kind of just bullying the person who loses in this clip. But on the less FGC oriented platforms, that being Instagram and Facebook, this clip actually caught a lot of flack in the way of Brian F, in the way of the winner of this clip, for saying that he made the game look not fun, saying it's spamming, for saying that this doesn't take any skill, things like that, right? Little jabs like, oh, this is why no one plays Sleep Fighter, can't wait for Tekken 8. So let's take a look at the clip. Let's watch the clip. And then let's look at some of the comments, right? Let's do that. So we're gonna move over to the live screen. We're gonna leave Brian F's face there. Shout outs to Brian F. Full. What's the word I'm looking for here? Can I mute my notifications so that I don't get any Facebook notifications right now? Or any anyways, I guess we just let it rock, right? I could just full screen this and we'll come back to the comments after. Anyways. So here we go. Let's take a look. I'm going to leave Brian F's face on screen. Looks very focused, very handsome. Love the hair in this photo, video, whatever. Anyways, get on into it. We're letting the whole thing play before we say anything.
Let's go! This dude got zoned. You win. He did not know what to do.
He sure didn't, Brian. He sure didn't. Now, what I want to say is, Brian was right. The guy didn't know what to do. There are answers to this sort of situation in Street Fighter. There are built-in answers. Zoning has always been a very, very strong part of Street Fighter. Right? It's always been very important in Street Fighter. It's always been very important in the 2D era of NRS games. Of Injustice and Mortal Kombat games, right? Maybe in the 3D games, zoning was a little less prevalent. But for 2D fighters, zoning is very important usually, right? When it comes to like standard 2D fighters that aren't anime fighters usually. And the reason why is because you want to create meaningful battles from all parts of the screen, right? You want to be able to fight for space, control space, take space, and create, block pressure and guard pressure situations, even from 3/4 of the screen, half screen, full screen. You want to be able to do that. And the only way that you can truly make something like that happen in 2D fighters is with zoning, right? I think projectiles are very important for the health of 2D fighting games. I'm going to just come out and say it now. I think if every fighting game, every 2D fighter, every traditional 2D fighter, like a Mortal Kombat, a Street Fighter, a KOF, they removed projectiles, the games would feel like they had significantly less depth because there's less things you have to play around in the long range. In the long range, if your opponent's running away from you and backdashing and jumping away, you don't have to worry about them randomly throwing out a fireball, randomly throwing out a long range option like a Dalsum heavy punch or crouching heavy punch, whatever it may be, right? And I think that makes for more interesting battles, even casually, right? But we go and we look at the comment section here. you'll see the comments are not too happy about Brian F's play. So we're going to turn it off. We're just going to let the video rock. I'm going to read you guys some of the comments. So it says, you won the fight. The cost, your dignity, right? And I think what he's trying to get at there is he's saying, hey, you won, but you won playing in such a lame or degenerate way that you don't have any dignity anymore. Like, you only want to play to win. And I think that right there first sums up the biggest disconnect between casual and competitive gamers, especially in fighting games, right? Like, in fighting games, you do what you're supposed to do to win. It doesn't matter if what you're doing isn't fun. You pick the character that you have the most fun with. To Brian F, this could absolutely be fun. And then to me, I'm going to be quite honest. To me, this looks fun. I think trying to navigate through this is frustrating, but that is some of the most fun you will have with competitive fighters. Being frustrated by your opponent and having to find a piece of counterplay or tech or fighting through a situation that you are not supposed to win. Now, I'm going to be honest. This guy was not supposed to lose this match at all. What the fuck are you doing not just holding down back? You take literally 0 chip because I'm going to pause. I never understood why people throw out the lame argument because they're more casually minded, right? Casual players want to see cool, flashy things happening on the screen. That's why we have auto combos now. That's why we have easy supers now. That's why we have modern in Street Fighter 6 now. That is why the combo assist in Tekken 7 and Tekken 8 will be a normal feature that anyone can use, and they want people to use it. That's why, right? Because casuals want big, flashy thing. They want cool, rush-down offense, and they want to feel like they're playing the game. Watching this, it doesn't look as if... What's her name again? I forgot this character's name already because she's like not a Street Fighter character. I think she's like a Final Fight character or something. I can't remember her name. The character on the left, Lucia. Thank you, Lucia. I love that name. That's a beautiful name. Anyways, you play her nice. The character doesn't look like they're allowed to play the game. And that is why people are calling this lame and calling it saying it's degenerate and then it looks boring. But there's ways around the situation, and there's even ways to just straight up beat it. I'll talk about that in a second, Creeper. Hold the fuck up. So, what they're doing right now is right? Kind of counter zoning, building a little bit of meter, blocking it out, trying to get in. After this, I think, right? He slides under, he gets hit by that, and I think this one or something, right? He gets hit by like 2 things. That at some point, you stop counter zoning. There it is. He got hit by that, and it starts to lower his health here, right? You can't die to chip in Street Fighter V unless it's with a critical art. If you look at Brian F's meter here, right? Brian F. If you look at his meter, Brian F. He does not have enough meter to feasibly build enough meter to use a critical art to kill his opponent. You are Ultra Diamond, not Bronze. You should know that. It is on you as a player playing at a high enough level, right? Rank 42,000 in the world at a high enough level. And there's a lot of people playing Street Fighter. Okay, I just want to preface that this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to hold down back. You're supposed to block. You're supposed to counter zone to maybe build a little bit of meter and force off Brian F's timing, but you are not supposed to try to advance because he can't kill you. And as long as he can't kill you and you have more gray life than him at the end of the game, you win in time. I don't play Street Fighter V, but I know that because I watch enough Street Fighter V, and I've studied Street Fighter V, just in case I ever decided I wanted to commentate it. No, EX moves do not chip kill in 5. Only supers chip in 5. Which means that the way out of this situation is blocking, because your opponent does not have the meter to kill you with a super. And I think it really starts here, right? Let's go back. It starts about here. He does not have enough meter. You can stop counter zoning. You can stop fighting the fireball war. You do not have to play the game anymore. You have to force your opponent to come to you. This is the oldest rule in the fighting game book. If you are winning, you do not have to approach. Especially in a game without chip kill. If you are playing a fighting game that does not have chip kill, it is on your opponent to close out that life lead. This life lead was insurmountable, and it is inexcusable that someone lost to this instead of just holding down back. Brian F said it himself at the end. He doesn't know what to do against this. He showed 2 really good things towards the beginning of this. He was counter zoning at the beginning, throwing fireballs to kind of throw off the fireball timing of Brian F. And he used crouching heavy kick to slide under a fireball to gain space. He took space and then immediately backed off. He was close enough to Brian that he could start fishing with his longer range buttons to just hit him once, counter poke him out of a fireball, and kill him. And he didn't do that. He had multiple win conditions here, whether it be a timeout or whether it be after he created this, after he got in. I'll show you where. Right there. You've created space. Continue to walk forward at him. Right there. You got yourself out of the corner. You can no longer be corner loop, corner pressured. You don't have to worry about it. You are in the driver's seat. You have full pace of you control the full pace of the game, and you chose to run into fireballs over and over. Anyways, let's read some more comments. We've got, this might have been the best advertisement for Tekken 8 I've seen. Now, this comment fails to realize that a competitively minded player is still going to shit on you, whether it's close range or long range. The only difference is, instead of feeling like you're getting beat up from long range without being able to play, you're going to feel like you're getting beat up and counter hit constantly and not be able to play. Which, I'm going to be real with you, as a competitive minded player, neither one of them feels good. Like, I don't think of one or the other as a positive. I'm not like, damn, I'm really getting counter hit poked here. Like, this feels way better than getting zoned. I'm not happy about either. I'm not. Before I read the comments, I was confused. Zoning, we used to call that shit spamming the same move. That can be the definition of zoning, right? Whether you're zoning with normals, whether you're zoning with fireballs, or whether you're zoning with big normals, with like a sword normal, right? Those are all zoning. And this is perfect, right? This one right here also shows a big disconnect, right? It says we used to call that shit spamming the same move. In a competitive match, if there is one move in a fighting game that is so absolutely, like, positively egregious and overwhelmingly the best move in the game, there is no reason to use it every opportunity you get. Okay, I'm gonna tell a very modern example. Soul Far Slash, from the very beginning of Guilty Gear Strive. People said at the very beginning of Guilty Gear Strive that Soul Far Slash might be one of the single best fighting game buttons they've ever seen. First of all, I know they're new to fighting games if they say that, because there are way more fucked up fighting game buttons than Soul's Far Slash. 2, it was so by far and away the best move in the game to most people, right? Like, in the consensus of most people, Soul's kit was so much better than everyone else's that he could beat you with 3 moves in neutral, either 5K, Far Slash, or 6S. You would use one of those 3 moves, get a full combo, put your opponent on the wall. I hate Soul. Fuck him. I love Soul. I think Soul's funny. Soul's hilarious now. Soul was a little more obnoxious back in the day, but he's toned down. I don't hate him as much now. I think he's a lot more fair. Still plays that same, like, mid-range into knockdown pressure. But so in a competitive scenario, you would use that Far Slash, you would use that 5K, and you would use that 6S. And if someone did Far Slash over and over and over and over and one using Far Slash, this same comment would be worded like, before I read the comments, let me scroll down so you guys can see it. You guys can't see it because I have chat in the way, right? Let me move chat, actually. My bad. You guys can't even see the comments. Let me move chat. I guess we'll move it over, Brian. Sorry, Brian. Okay, so before I read the comments, I was confused. Zoning, we used to call that shit spamming the same move. This comment would read, if this was a fighting game thread that was, or another fighting game post, but with normals, this would read, pressure, we call that shit spamming the same move. I was confused, right? Another good example is Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Super Smash Bros. Brawl had very egregious characters, whether that be Marth, Ice Climbers, Zero Suit Samus, or worst of them all, Meta Knight. Meta Knight is going to constantly use Tornado, up B, down air, and up air. And that's really all he has to use in neutral. And that's not a big variety of moves, right? Marth is more than likely going to use down tilt and forward air a lot. And you could say the same thing about Marth in Melee, which is pretty funny. And if a casually minded player were to watch a competitive match of Super Smash Bros. Brawl, where all Meta Knight is doing is tornadoing around and then mashing up airs or down airs off stage over and over to make it back to the stage, or to cover edge guards, or to cover themselves making it back to the stage, they would call it the same thing. They would say, neutral? I was confused when I read neutral before I read the comments. This shit is spamming the same move. Another disconnect right here. People don't like seeing the same thing over and over. I can understand when it's the same character, right? If a top 8 has all of the same character, it can be very frustrating to play. It can be very frustrating to watch. And even competitive-minded players usually don't like constantly only running near. It makes variance less, right? It means you only really have to lab one matchup, which is kind of cool. But it's not fun for competitors or spectators. It makes the game feel dry a lot faster. And I think that's true. I think any competitive player will tell you that exact same thing. They'll say, well, now I only have to lab one matchup, so that's really good for me. My tournament run will feel way more consistent, and whoever's the best player in the room will probably win because everyone's using the same character, right? It's more likely that you will not lose to a random Joe Schmo on a bad matchup for your character because everyone's playing solo and mashing far slash. But who is better at it? They will mash far slash better and they will win, right? But stale, not fun, spamming, boring to watch. Another comment. I'm trying to see where it was. Ironically, a big reason why fighting games will never be bigger than FPS games. It's their version of camping. So, the thing about this is, I find it very interesting that someone calls zoning, which is actively pressing buttons, but from a safer range on screen, camping, right? The idea of camping is hiding or hanging out in one spot for a very long time and doing nothing. You're basically waiting for an unsuspecting person to come around the corner, to like try to run through and not see you, and you kill them. And it's usually very fast. Campers will kill someone, stay in their spot, kill someone will call out to their camper, and they'll move somewhere else to hide in another corner, and they'll kill a few people there. But what they're trying to do is play defensively and I guess end the game quickly that way, right? Like they still want to end the game quickly even though they're camping. This is very slow, methodical, and there's a lot of decision-making and interaction that comes into play here. There's a lot of spots where the Lucia player could have jumped, could have slid under, could have tried to counter zone. There's a lot of space on the screen that you can even start to walk forward before the fireballs are even close enough to you instead of holding back and down back from full screen. Take some space first, walk a little more forward, force an interaction out of your opponent. That's what makes this situation completely different from camp. Is in a game that there's so much less space to work with, you have to have projectiles, right? I think that's a big deal. But this comment made me laugh. This one was a good one. Let's see another one. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So many people defending this with if it works, what's the problem? The problem is you don't deserve to win if you're abusing mechanics. Like flying the hello in all game in Call of Duty, or sitting in a corner with a shotty. It works, but it's not fun for you or them. So, fun. Fun is a word that is relative. I think this looks fun because I'm competitively minded. I think that trying to navigate all these fireballs is part of the fun of fighting games in a 2D plane. It's frustrating, but frustration when it comes to competitive games is fun. This is a match between an ultimate grandmaster who's ranked 500 up in the world versus someone who is diamond, right? Not ultra diamond, just diamond, right? That is still pretty good. I mean, you're definitely solid enough at Street Fighter. You're going to beat up any Joe Schmo you run into who said, oh yeah, whippersnapper, I played Street Fighter back in the day when there was no combos. You're gonna cook that guy because he's no any fucking combos. Okay, so I think the idea of a fun is so relative that it's not something you can truly compare to abusing mechanics. Abusing mechanics is exploiting a bug that gives you infinite life, or reduces the clock to 0, or gives you infinite meter, or even something along the lines of glitches out the game to force a draw, right? Like things like that are exploits or mechanics. This is not a mechanic. This is a special move in the video. He's using 2, maybe 3 special moves. These are not mechanics. These are normal things that are going to happen in a game of Street Fighter, right? This is like if Ryu had a Hadouken and then a Hadouken that bounced off the wall of the ground. It's that normal, right? That's not really abuse of a mechanic. It's abuse of knowledge. It's abuse of the lack of knowledge, but it is not technically abusing mechanics. So that's this comment is just stupid because there's no abusing happenings here. It's obvious you don't play anything ranked or competitive. Zoning is a strat in every fighting game. Tell me you don't know fighting games. Tell me you don't know fighting games. It's called winning. This is very easy to beat, sir. Yeah, it kind of is. I'm glad he said it. Someone had to say it just destroys the fun and the beauty of the game. You know, it's unfortunate because the way that devs design video games currently is they do look at what casuals think about the video game more than what competitive players look at the video game, right? That's how we end up with things like modern and classic being separated and easy combos and auto combos and easier shortcuts for inputs and just easy inputs in general. That's how that happens, is because we want everyone to feel like they always have control of their character and control of what's going on the screen. And it would be un-Street Fighter-like to just remove projectiles from the game, right? Guile will always have Sonic Boom. Ryu will always have Hadouken. Chun-Li might not always have Kikoken, but it's not a very strong projectile anyway, so who gives a shit, right? Oro will be Oro, and a character like Dhalsim will always have Yoga Flame and big normals. These are very normal fighting game things, and if you don't like these things, or if these things don't really like tickle your fancy when it comes to gaming, fighting games probably just aren't for you. I always say that there's probably a fighting game out there for everyone. Maybe traditional 2D fighters with loads of projectiles, Injustice, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, maybe these kinds of games, KOF even, right? But KOF definitely has a lot more aggression than something like Street Fighter 5. Maybe those games just aren't for you, right? I want to believe that everyone wants to love fighting games in their own way, and I do think that competitive players should be able to have their fun, and so should casuals. But I think that when the disconnect is so huge that people that love fighting games or want fighting games to be good, I always thought Kikoken was the move Chunners used to get in. Yeah, it's not that great. Yeah, it's not really a fireball. That's what I was saying. It's not really a zoning tool in the sense of Oro or Ryu, Sagat, Guile. Right? It's not a zoning tool. Anyways, because the disconnect is so big on something so simple when it comes to fighting games, I think that it becomes very clear that the devs have to balance the game and create a way for everyone to be able to have fun without kind of stepping on the design philosophy of what they want to create at the highest level. I was trying to figure out how to word that, right? They want to create a game that's fun enough to get into, play with friends, play casually, play a little bit online, casually ranked or whatever, and beat the story mode. But then they also want to make a game where there is meaningful actual battles, decisions, and actions being made on the screen at a high level of play that do not devolve into one or two options only. Even in this clip, there was multiple options that could have happened. There was multiple decision trees, multiple branching pathways of if, then, else, if, then, yes. That is normal for all competitive games. This was a Cinderella story of a clip. Brian F., for all intent and purposes, should have lost this round. This round was lost. But because he found something he could abuse versus an opponent who was not ready for an onslaught of projectiles and how to deal with them, how to either close out the match or time out the match, he won. And looking at a lot of the what's the word I'm looking for here? Comments, it really shows that people who like fighting games casually look for something totally different than what competitively minded people look for in their fighting games. Anyways, that was just a little insight into the differences between mindsets for people who's playing fighting games, whether it be competitively or casually. And I really hope one day there's a nice enough way to bridge the gap without removing depth from the game and making it so that it's very one-dimensional, right? Or very frustrating, hard to lab or hard to innovate on. This has been Beanie Thuggish with 2 YouTube videos recorded in the same stream. Again, that's crazy. It's almost who is this guy? This guy came back and started making YouTube videos again. Anyways, this has been Beanie Thuggish, talking about fighting game discrepancies when it comes to competitively and casual-minded players, signing out and saying peace.